I identify as a doctor. Viva, as a lawyer, does that mean I can practice medicine now? Well, there is the old joke. What's the difference between God and a lawyer? God doesn't think he's a lawyer. I think that's true of doctors as well. Okay, let's go to Pat King and just get this out of the way. I'll bring it up, and then I'm just actually going to bring it out while I'll give the backdrop. I take for granted everybody knows the entire story of Pat King. Pat King, they credit him as either being a founder, Ottawa protest organizer, the spokesperson. I don't know formally what Pat King's affiliation was or is with the actual federally incorporated not-for-profit that was the Convoy that was receiving the funds through GoFundMe and then Give, Send, Go. Update, by the way, Give, Send, Go apparently is refunding all of the donations because they can no longer disperse of the funds in a manner that is consistent with the stated objective of the campaign. So thanks for everyone who made it. People made it impossible to actually disperse the funds, which is now going to end a lot of arguments as to, outside monies financing the Convoy, because right now the Convoy financed itself. Please check out Gonzalo Lira, aka Coach Red Pill, on YouTube. He is live in Ukraine now. Maybe interview him ASAP, like today, before he gets censored. Thanks for all you do, brother. I think a lot of people watching know who Coach Red Pill is. He's live in Ukraine. Well, we're not sure where he is right now, but Coach Red Pill, definitely for another perspective. Think what you will, get different perspectives, and then come to your own conclusions. Thank you very much for the super chat. So, what's his face? Pat King, it's not clear what his official affiliation is with the Convoy. He has certainly been outspoken, both well before. He's been protesting in Alberta, Red Deer, I believe, for years. Before COVID, during the Convoy. And he's in jail now. Yasher Koach, thank you. Although it is Saturday, so who? We have two sinful people here not respecting the laws, apparently. Thank you very much. Okay, so Pat King has been very outspoken. He's been, also, I'll call it controversial. I think the threshold for controversy is greater or lesser depending on your political leanings. He's been controversial. He's said things, yada, yada. I don't know if he was formally affiliated with the federally not incorporated not-for-profit, but he was one of the voices of the Convoy. Whether or not he co-opted that voice or whether or not it was given to him, it doesn't matter. He was arrested along with Tamara Lich, a few others, and I believe he and I'm going to forget the other name, Benjamin, and Tamara Lich. Tamara Lich and Pat King were detained, pre-trial detention on mischief charges for weeks, indefinitely. Tamara Lich was finally released after her bail rehearing. After the bail hearing, the initial officer, what do they call them? Officer of the peace. Someone in the chat, get the exact word for me if you could. It's they're not judges, they're lower level judges, not administrative judges, but something along the line. I'll get it when I see it. Tamara Lich was denied bail, kept in jail indefinitely, and she had a rehearing on her bail, which I live stream commented. I did not live stream. Pat King is the face of the protest in the same URV. Well, that's the thing. I'm not the face of the protest. I don't appoint myself, and I wasn't appointed. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't want to actually give a speech at the protest, because I didn't want to interfere with it. I wasn't there to be a spokesperson for. I was there to be a documentarian of. But I think at the end of the day, I think we're all faces of the protest, because we're Canadians who want our freedoms back, and we're Canadians who don't think it's outlandish, who don't think it's extremist to say, you had no right to do what you did to us in the first place, government. So, setting that aside, I don't know what this is about, but thank you. Tamara Lich was in jail for 2.5 weeks before, on rehearing of her bail refusal, she was finally released. But she was released, and she had her freedom only in part. She was released on $20,000 surety from the surety who warranted to, forfeit that $20,000 if she violates her bail terms. She had to post $5,000 bond. She had to leave Ottawa within 72 hours, I believe, or maybe 24 hours. She cannot she cannot be on social media. She can't make public statements in support of protests, and she can't attend a protest across Canada. So her freedom, by the way, is actually tyranny. It's actually a form of tyranny, is the freedom she got. But at least she's out of jail with her friends and family. Pat King, on the other hand, didn't get that good fortune of treatment. I read the original officer of the peace. Did anyone tell me what the name was? I read the original summary of how Pat was denied bail. The judge said basically, or the officer of the peace said, I'm thoroughly convinced he's going to do time. He's going to break the terms if he gets out. He's going to encourage people to break the law. It would impugn the administration of justice and the legal system to release him. And I was like, well done, Kafka. You just changed the meaning of language. Freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength, and peace is war. I mean, you literally just did it to say it would undermine people's faith in the judicial system to release pre-trial an individual who is accused of mischief charges or mischief-related charges, because those are his charges. Mischief, inciting mischief, advising people to commit mischief. So he was denied bail. Now, I just didn't know exactly the process where he was in his denial. Yeah, well, it's a fair point, because you make a martyr out of people, and now anything that people might have had against Pat King, they're now going to say, well, I'll forgive him for that because he has now been martyrized by our Canadian judicial and political system. Pat King's been in jail for a month. I mean, that's the end of it. Cœur doux, by the way, in French means soft heart, or a wonderful heart. Thank you very much, Cœur doux. So that's where he's at. And now he's coming up for, he's having a new hearing on Monday, but I don't know if it's a rehearing, or let me get the article because I can't seem to find it. Here it is. Freedom Convoy protester, and we'll read this just real quick. Let me see this. Yeah, that's a drawing, by the way, because they're not allowed cameras in the courtroom. Freedom Convoy protest leader. I mean, this is CTV now designating him the leader of the convoy. Pat, by the way, watch this, because they call him the leader in the header. In the is this called the title? The headline. Makes brief court appearance. He's the leader. One of the now he's gone to one. I mean, they went from leader in the headline to one of the leaders in the follow-up. He appeared briefly. He appeared briefing in an. I think they meant briefly in an Ottawa court on Friday, and will appear in court on Monday to give him more time to speak with his lawyers. So apparently, people aren't meeting in person, so he wanted to meet with his lawyers. Pat King's lawyers were not present at the virtual hearing Friday afternoon. The judge granted King more time to speak with his lawyers before appearing again in court. And I thought he had new lawyers. But either way, King, 44, faces charges of mischief, counseling to commit mischief, counseling to commit the offense of disobeying a court order, and counseling to obstruct justice. This is Minority Report thought crime. He's facing charges. He hasn't been found guilty of this. He's been charged with counseling to break the law. So he might be innocent of that, but he's staying in jail indefinitely. When was it that he was arrested? It was February 25th. Justice of the peace, Andrew. Oh, that's the word, people. Justice of the peace. Thank you. Andrew Seymour denied bail to King on February 25, saying the evidence of King's participation and leadership role in the protest was overwhelming. This protest, which was actually, other than a bunch of lying politician, authoritarian dictators, teapot dictators, is that it? Calling it illegal. There was never any court order declaring this protest illegal. In fact, on the contrary, and I've covered it, that injunction specifically said, to the extent that the protesters abide by the terms of this injunction, they can protest lawfully. Calling his alleged offense an attack on the rule of law. Taking your car and driving into 4 protesters in Winnipeg is not an attack on the rule of law sufficient to warrant denying bail. Mischief, counseling to commit mischief, that is a sufficient attack on the rule of law to warrant indefinite pretrial detention. This is what Canada has turned into. King was forbidden from communicating with other convoy organizers, including Chris Barber was the name I was looking for. Sorry, not and Tamara Litch. Yada, yada, yada. Litch was released on March 7, and after being initially denied bail, Litch was... So they don't explain, and someone in the chat, I just don't understand if Pat King is on a rehearing, like what Tamara Litch had, or a new hearing because the terms of his former bail are up, or he's entitled to a new hearing. So I don't know what exactly procedurally, To me, it makes no difference. He's going to get released because it would be incongruous to continue to deny bail for Pat King without, at the very least, matching Tamara Litch's. They might say something along the lines of, well, I'm not convinced that the certi for Pat King is reliable, whereas, the judge came to the conclusion that the certi for Tamara Litch was reliable. They could try to pull those weasel, dishonest, I'll find a macro difference between the two cases to justify my foregone conclusion in this one. But my prediction is Pat King is getting bail sooner than later. We'll see if it takes 3 or 4 days for the, I forgot the word for it, justice of the peace, to draft their decision like they did with Tamara Litch. You imagine? The judge knew that he was going to release her, presumably, unless he really thought it over between the hearing and reading the judgment, kept Tamara Litch in jail nonetheless for another 4 days while he drafted and scheduled the hearing on that order. I watched it. Everyone should watch it. You have to take it with a grain of, I'm sorry, you should watch Ukraine on Fire documentary on Rumble. I watched it. You have to watch it with a grain of salt in the sense that you have to be able to identify bias where you see it and then interpret the facts accordingly. Because to pretend that Ukraine on Fire is a totally objective, absence of bias documentary produced by Roger Stone, no. Is it better than most? Probably. Does it contain facts which you as a viewer should be able to digest regardless of any bias or underlying political motivations or politics of the person making the documentary? You should. Love the goose picture. Hold on, where is it? Oh, this, yeah, that's I took that with a massive telephoto lens. I'll tilt it just so everybody can see. And it is a duck flying on water, and its wing touches the water as it goes. It's beautiful. Oh, let's do this here. Oh gosh, what did I do? And that in the back, by the way, is a mass mortality Green River Formation fossil that I love. Take this off. Oh yeah, and look. Okay, while we're on the subject of fossils, my mass mortality trilobite plate. Every now and again, you fall in love with a fossil, and this is legit. This is not repositioned. This is every now and again you fall in love with a fossil, and you fall so in love with the fossil that the dude at the fossil shop knows that you've fallen in love with the fossil and wants to give you a discount that can allow you to buy that fossil without getting in trouble with your wife. It's not outrageously expensive. It's such a, I mean, look at this. 600 million years ago, these bad boys fell to the bottom of whatever body of water they were living in, died, and were just preserved. What was that? My dog's making noise. Anyhow, so that's it. Okay. What were we? So we were on. Sorry about that. Got totally distracted by the fossils. I try to get people to watch the Putin interviews, but 4 hours is just too much, I guess. Yeah. People want to have opinions. They just don't want to do the research to be able to justify those opinions. So they defer to other people who have opinions who themselves don't invest the time required to justify those opinions. So Pat King's going to have his new hearing. He's going to get out. There's no question in my mind. Going to be exquisitely onerous terms and conditions, which I would argue are arguably, but not so arguably, unconstitutional. But anyways, that's the news. He's coming up on Monday. So we'll be following that. And I might do the same type of live stream that I was doing for Tamara Litch's bail hearing before I thought that I was the one who was breaking the rules and got the court to actually suspend, because the judge said, some people are live streaming this. This is totally unacceptable. So I'm going to try to maybe do that again next week. It was fun, and it worked. Pat King, that's it.